He was, in a sense, ambushed with a cake. They came to his office with a cake, they sang happy birthday, he was there for 10 minutes. I don't think most people looking at that at home would characterise that as a party.
My friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable. And our brilliant and Darwinian system will produce another leader equally committed to taking this country forward through tough times.
Hi. Hello. Hi. How's it going?
Funnily enough, it was tractors I was looking at, and so I did get into another website that had a sort of very similar name, and I watched it for a bit, which I shouldn't have done. But my biggest crime, is that on another occasion I went in a second time.
And that was deliberately?
That was deliberate.
I am a fighter and not a quitter. I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I have learned enough to know that there were things we simply did not get right. And I must take responsibility.
He showed himself unfit for office. His desperate denials since he was exposed have only made matters worse. Rather than come clean, every step of the way, he's insulted the public's intelligence. And now he's finally fallen back on his usual excuse. It's everybody's fault but his.
This leader of the opposition, a former director of public prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile, as far as I can make out, Mr. Speaker.
I know it's been reported that some abuse was directed at the Right Honourable Member, the Leader of the Opposition, yesterday, related to claims made by the Prime Minister in this chamber. But regardless of yesterday's incident, I made it clear last week that while the Prime Minister's words were not disorderly, they were inappropriate. As I said then, these sorts of comments only inflame opinions and generate disregard for the House, and it is not acceptable.
Ukrainian women and Ukrainian children are in deep fear because of bombs and missiles which are going from the sky. And Ukrainian people are desperately asking for the West to protect our sky. We are asking for the no-fly zone. We are saying in response that it will trigger World War III. But what is the alternative, Mr. Prime Minister? Britain guaranteed our security under Budapest Memorandum. So you're coming to Poland. You're not coming to Kiev, Prime Minister. You're not coming to Lviv. Because you are afraid. Because NATO is not willing to defend. Because NATO is afraid of the World War III. But it is already started. And these are Ukrainian children who are there taking the hit.
Prime Minister, we're not expecting you to give any commentary, quite obviously, but I mean, if you are served with one of them, you're pretty much toast, aren't you? I mean, no Prime Minister could possibly survive being found of criminality for the very rules that Prime Minister set. You'd be finished if you got one.
Well, with deepest respect to you, Pete, I don't in any way wish to minimise the importance of the issue and your point, but I just want to return to what I've said, and that is that that would come under the category of running commentary in my view.
This does make you the first serving Prime Minister to have been found to have broken the law. It's a serious matter. Will you resign?
I have, of course, paid the FPN, and I apologise once again for the mistake that I made, and as I've said just now, I want to be able to get on and deliver the mandate that I have, but also to tackle the problems that the country must face right now, and to make sure that we get on with delivering for the people of this country. That is my priority.
For all those unfamiliar with this Prime Minister's career, this isn't some fixable glitch in the system. It's the whole point. It's what he does. It's who he is.
Is your decision based on an acknowledgement of wrongdoing?
Yes, and I'll explain to you exactly what it is.
Okay.
The situation was that funnily enough, it was tractors I was looking at, and so I did get into another website that had a sort of very similar name, and I watched it for a bit, which I shouldn't have done. But my biggest crime, is that on another occasion I went in a second time.
And that was deliberately?
And that was deliberate.
And was that in the Select Committee or in the Commons chamber?
That was sitting, waiting to vote on the side of the chamber. I mean, I don't know whether it's technically chamber or not, really. It's on the side doors as you enter back into the lobbies. What I want
to be clear, on at least one occasion, you were blatantly viewing pornography on your mobile phone in the chamber of the House of Commons.
Yeah, I have that.
What made you think that was remotely acceptable?
No, nothing made it feel.
So what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, moment of madness, and also totally wrong. But what I do want to put on record is that for all my rights and wrongs, I was not proud of what I was doing.
When I came to this House and said, in all sincerity, that the rules and guidance would be followed at all times, it was what I believed to be true. It was certainly the case when I was present at gatherings to wish staff farewell, and the House will note that my attendance at these moments, brief as it was, has not been found to be outside the rules. But clearly this was not the case for some of those gatherings after I had left, and at other gatherings when I was not even in the building. So I would like to correct the record, to take this opportunity, not in any sense to absolve myself of responsibility, which I take and have always taken, but simply to explain why I spoke as I did in this House. I just want to make absolutely clear that there's no place in this government for anybody who is predatory or who abuses their position of power.
Did you want to joke, though, pincher by name, pincher by nature?
Well, what I can tell you is that if I look at the background of this and why I regret it so much, is that about 3 years ago, there was a complaint made against Chris Pincher in the Foreign Office. The complaint was cleared up. He apologised. It was raised with me. As we've seen at Westminster, the herd instinct is powerful. When the herd moves, it moves. And my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable. And our brilliant and Darwinian system will produce another leader equally committed to taking this country forward through tough times, not just helping families to get through it, but changing and improving the way we do things, cutting burdens on businesses and families, and yes, cutting taxes, because that is the way to generate the growth and the income we need to pay for great public services. And to that new leader, I say, whoever he or she may be, I say I will give you as much support as I can.
I also want to thank our outgoing leader, my friend, Boris Johnson. Boris, you got Brexit done. You crushed Jeremy Corbyn. You rolled out the vaccine and you stood up to Vladimir Putin. You were admired from Kiev to Carlisle.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Palace has just issued this statement. It says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon.
High tax rates damage Britain's competitiveness. They reduce the incentive to work, to invest and to start a business. And the higher the tax, the more ways people seek to avoid them, or work elsewhere, or simply work less, rather than putting their time and effort to more creative and productive ends. Take the additional rate of income tax. At 45%, it is currently higher than the headline top rate in G7 countries like the US and Italy. And it is even higher than social democracies like Norway. But I'm not going to cut the additional rate of tax today, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to abolish it altogether. From April the 23rd, we will have a single higher rate of income tax of 40%. This will simplify the tax system and make Britain more competitive. It will reward enterprise and work. It will incentivise growth. It will benefit the whole economy and the whole country. And Mr. Speaker, after all, this only returns us to the top rate we had for 20 years, including the entire time the opposition was last in power. Bar 1 month.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
So I stand here before you, ready to lead our country into the future, to put your needs above politics, to reach out and build a government that represents the very best traditions of my party. Together, we can achieve incredible things. We will create a future worthy of the sacrifices so many have made, and fill tomorrow and every day thereafter with hope. Thank you.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm Matt.
Sean.
Very nice to meet you. So this is camp. This is
Oh
you
my
and me.
God. Hello, yes.
I thought there were going to be more people.
No, it's no. I've just arrived.